Good morning, everybody.
The floor is yours,
Yes,
Mark.
thank you. So, now I have to learn this thing. So the first thing I want to tell about is the role of urban farming for feeding the city. But first, let's introduce myself. I'm a really typical action researcher, thus I don't want to write a lot of reports. It's not my thing. I want to work with stakeholders. I want to work out ideas directly with stakeholders in cities. So that's what I do. Yeah, all the topics which has to do with society are, yeah, I like these kinds of topics. In urban farming, I did 3 major things last 10 years. The first one at the left was a prize-winning idea for the innovation network of LMV, for a ministry, and we called it Fruit for Sports. And Fruit for Sports is about designing eatable schoolyards. It was adapted by Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam I got the finance and the room to work it out. That was the first thing, but by Fruit for Sports, what we do is making eatable sport accommodations. So normally you have grass and you have some trees and you have some forestry plants, but when you make a new design for sport accommodations and you make them eatable, people can adopt from the city, can adopt some small areas, some small orchards, and we help them to try to make a really good cultivation in these cities. But then the crux is the behavior change should not be with the fruits going home and then eat it at home, but the fact what we try to do in this concept is that these fruits go to the canteens of these sport accommodations. And there's, as a normal way of social marketing, you add something new which is healthy. So this was Food for Sports, but then I told the elder man from Amsterdam, Nevin Neusutok, in those days, I said, I don't reach children. It's on here with the son of Han Fleuren at the right, but I didn't reach children with this concept, actually. And then Amsterdam said, the major said, okay, but can you develop another health intervention out of Food for Sports, and can you call it Food for Schools? So we have the active links, when you want to know a little bit more of it, active links below. And then we started, you see my daughter there in our own garden, then we started to make a concept to make eatable schoolyards. And Yolanda will tell more about all the benefits from it, so I will not interfere your speech. But it has a lot of benefits, making education material and trying to connect children, and they have an effect on their parents and so on. So this was Food for Schools. It's worked out in Amsterdam now in the pilot phase at 12 schools in the city. But it's all very small, it's all for citizens. Another thing with, I think, more impact, and maybe it's the most beautiful project I've ever done. I got the chance to make a reintegration garden and the design of a garden from 8.8 hectares, which is really huge, for the Army of Salvation, so het Leger des Heils. They had ground, it was already there, they had their clients, they have a lot of clients with all kinds of difficulties, drugs addicted, alcohol addicted, very severe burnouts and so on. This was really beautiful, but because then you can set up a short chain, and we reached Laplace restaurants in Holland to make this, to work this out. Now you see the people grow, you see people getting more confidence in themselves, and this open space, it works very beautiful. But then the position and the role of urban farming, because these were all, let's say, forms of urban farming, which I mentioned, and there are a lot others, but the role and position of urban farming in the Dutch food chains, that's not very big. So what you see in this beautiful graph is at the left our farmers, so the fruit producers, 65,000, and then the processing industry, 6,500 more, and then you see the suppliers, and then the problem in Dutch food chain that the power is very much restricted in the center, where you have 5 purchasing companies and only 25 supermarket concepts. So you see as this, and there we have at the right our Dutch almost 70 million customers. So this is really the problem. So if you want to develop urban farming seriously and really that it has a volume, that this system is very difficult. And you see those 2 very thin lines at the top, that the short chains directly from farmers to the shoppers, these 7 million shoppers, it's very small in volume and in power. So even when you have a very beautiful garden like this in Lunteren, what I set up for Laplace, which is huge with a lot, even this is only possible when you have the labor for free, because these were clients and the labor was already paid for. But even when you have this sides of urban farming, it's very difficult to make a business model out of it. Don't Dutch farmers, are they willing to change, and are they willing? And we did, as Agrosystems in Wageningen, we did a survey some years ago, and you see that at the left, that farmers are willing to change. They are willing, is when the power in the chain would be others, they are willing to change. You see that the 3 two columns at the right there, and you can also see that when consumers are prepared to pay a higher price, and we are all not willing every day and every week when you do the groceries to pay for it. So this is, but it's beautiful that a lot of the farmers in Holland say, within the next 10 years, I'm going to change my farm or my production. So there is an increase in interest. You know, a lot of policy makers, I think, in this room. So there is an increased interest in local and regional. We don't have the right statistics at the moment. So I called Jan Nassing, a colleague, I called Ilko Jansma. I couldn't find good statistics about the volume of the urban farming because it's small and it doesn't make a lot of sense at this moment in the volume in Holland. So I cannot give you a lot of details about that, but the role is very important. This is from Dekking, Esther Veen and Jan-Ilko Jansma from some years ago, when you see for Almere where we are now, this is a study from Almere where we right now, then you see it's in Dutch, but I will translate it, because the greener, the more yellow, the more it's important, this factor of this urban farming. But then you see that voedselzekerheid, food security is 0, and the effect on our climate is also 0, they measured. But it has enormously the benefits on participation, on recreation, on education. So these things to be more lively and so on, and have an attractive neighborhood, these are really the points which are important at this moment in Holland for urban farming. So not the volume or not the effects on climate change. the last study we did, it was from 1 year ago, and that's beautiful to see when you see difficult neighborhoods with a lot of unemployment and a lot of difficulties with health. Then you can also take one theme, a theme which you are going to work out and make new strategies for this. So we did this for Amsterdam. So this is Floriade area from years ago. I don't know exactly which year. But what we did there is trying to preserve this culinary heritage from people, because all these people know how to cook, and cooking is connecting, and food is connecting. So we tried to figure out new strategies, new food strategies for this neighborhood. So this is what's actually the situation there. So people want to eat these exotic vegetables which they know from their country where they come from, but it's for the most people it's not affordable. Kousenband, so a pea, very long pea, for instance, is €9 for each kilogram, and then it was 3 weeks from Paramaribo to Holland, so it's not quality at all, and then they have to pay €9 for it. So that's not the way it should work. What we try to do is make new strategies for Amsterdam, and what I said, we gave this name. So the two at the right, Experience Center and Ondernemersplein, Entrepreneurs Square, you could say, these are professional or semi-professional. And this is what I wanted to point out today for you, that it's very important that you have professionals in urban farming. If we want to increase the volume and make this really, try to make it more professional, but also in the neighborhoods, places to be and oases, which is very important for the elderly, just in the, I don't know the name, but in the neighborhood, in the buurthuizen, that you have these small spots with an actieradius for elderly of just 200 meters or 300 meters, which is very fine for social cohesion and all these kinds of things, and meeting each other. But we have worked out 2 of these concepts just to make it more professional. It's what I already said. You can find it, it's in Dutch, but it's the report, the link is below. So we have a lot of forms and for elderly, and you will mention, Yolanda will mention a lot more, but my lessons learned in Amsterdam in the last 10 years, when you have urban farming on small scale, you got to be realistic. I see that citizens overestimate their cultivation knowledge. They are so enthusiastic when they start. They try to do a lot of beautiful things and they get ground supplied, but it's so difficult to keep it enthusiastic and to keep it well producing. And they're also overestimating available time. They have a lot of other things to do in their apparent free space of time. So that's really a difficulty. And then you see with traditional open crops culture system that it's getting more and more a weed control project. And that's not where that was never the starting point of these projects. So what I want to point out, when you are going to stimulate and support all those beautiful initiatives from people, please try to involve the professionals to help them. And other points of interest is, and because they are sometimes a little bit too idealistic, that you calculate first a revenue model in advance. Start with making, because you have to pay the bills. And you see a lot of projects without any realistic revenue model. And then step up the scale and move away from subsidy dependence. So if you have calculated first, of course you can have a starting subsidy to start with but you should have, in this modern world, you have to pay the bill. Pay the bills for seeds, pay the bill for fertilizers, pay the bill for a professional, and so on. I mentioned the third point already, use professionals in the production. And what I see is sometimes these difficulties between the community, the cities, and their citizens. So there's really a big gap in trust between those two. So from the start of I think that you have, as a city and as a responsible, that you have a responsibility that you should keep and help the cities and do it together in cooperation, and not only giving them some space to produce something. Yeah, when we are going to make it more professional, then the only way is, I think, and you can see it on the Floriade, all kinds of different places here, how you can make really speed up the transformation by using LED and multi-layer food systems. Then you can provide with urban farming a realistic and calculated percentage of the needed food in the neighborhood. In Shanghai, in Toronto, in Paris, they are making beautiful steps in this way. And also in the Netherlands, we have more and more the policy from cities. And Amsterdam has this policy also, and in Almere also. So, this was the first thing. Maybe there's a question or...
Can I? Yes, thank you. I get my mic. I thought maybe there are questions, because I saw people writing and nodding. So, is there a question for Marc right now? You can always go to him during the lunch break or at the end of our beautiful day. Yes, I come to you. Can I get this mic, please? Thank you. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Sigrid.
Sigrid.
And I had a question. Are there examples of places where they have a profitable business model already? Do you have any examples of that?
This example from het Leger des Heils, the Army of Salvation, my own project, this was profitable. But then you need, but they had already, as an institution, they had already this ground. It was for free. And we had a label for free, because they have 30,000 clients, which is already paid for by the government. But making it profitable, and you have to, and in this way, and in their own speed up, at their own, it's very difficult. So that's why I say, when you want to make it professional, please.
Yeah, so this is an example of a profitable project.
Yeah, that was profitable, but we didn't have to pay for the labor. And then it's easy, then it's just easy.
We have time for a last question for Marc. Anyone?
But the food is also too cheap to compete with, right?
Yeah, yeah. But in this example, I had a very beautiful partner, which was La Place restaurant, and they paid us the day price plus, because we were working with people with a distance to the labor market. So it was a very beautiful partner to work with. And for every bottle of water I got 10 cents. So every year I got 30,000 euros extra to buy cultivation equipment or a tractor or something. So this is really, it's a very nice partner to work with.
It's a wonderful project, and we spoke, and you told me about the tree and the fountain.
Yes, I will. This is the last slide.
I'm so curious about it, and I want to invite all the people to take a look after our congress. So we have little time, so please make it quick.
The next topic is something completely different. It has to do with street trees and urban trees. So it's in Dutch, but what you see is the normally you have a lot of abiotic factors, and due to the climate change, these factors are going to change. It's in Dutch, but you see here what's red are the biggest problems we are facing at the moment. So temperatures rising, and then the vapor pressure deficit, that's really accumulated with wind speed, which makes the transpiration of trees higher than the normal rainfall, and that's the problem, drought. So another thing is that we have this salt problem in Holland, which is really a problem. And what you then see is what you see at the right, that the leaf mass is really poor. So the effect is reduced growth. So we have all these new ecological stress factors in the cities, which we have to deal with. And yeah, we cannot provide the ecosystem services as shading and active cooling of the air and so forth, when these are the normal grounds. And when you give your eyes the chance and you go home tonight, you see it's a big difference when I compared it to when I was young. The leaf mass was totally different in trees. This is last month. It's also a thing, too heavy rainfall, but it's normally in the summertime when it's only short, just 1 day or so, or half a day, it will not really have a big impact on the most of our trees. But the problem is with greening infrastructure and wadis and so on, the definition is of intense rainfall is a prediction more than 50 millimeters in 1 hour now. You cannot, I think it's very difficult to solve with a green infrastructure on most places and cities when you are honest to yourself. Because it's so severe what we are facing more and more. Another thing is salination of Holland. At this moment it's not really a problem, but due to the seawater rising in Holland, we are a delta, 60% of the Netherlands is below sea level. And what we see here is that, that in a lot of places the salt water is 0 or 5 meters below, and this can be in future time the next problem for urban trees. So as a result, you see a new demand for resilience in the assortment of trees we are using. So I won't say that the trees we are using, that we are all going to have them changed, but we have a problem, and we should not, how do you say, that you have to face problems we have. So there are 3 lines of investigation now in Wageningen. That's KPI development. That's the first one. We try to make a dashboard for with real-time measurements with microsatellites to find that you can see what the vitality is of each tree in Holland. That's the first project. The second project, and in this afternoon we have the kick-off of this, is CSI trees. So I'm going to tell a little bit more, and together with Jelle, we have been asked to make a new monitoring system for trees in Holland. So this is what we are going to do in Leeuwarden. I have to go.
Really, we have to wrap up because of the time. So can you tell us about the fountain here, and then we can listen to you all day, but we really have to go further on.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, this is on Green Island 20 years ago. I tried to make the transpiration of trees visible for the public, because I studied in Utrecht and we had a very small, beautiful setup at the Botanical Garden in the city of Utrecht. But it's so inspiring when I was a student. So 20 years ago in Zoetermeer, heat island effect was really, it was not a topic. 10 years ago in Venlo also not. But now, in Holland we say, driemaal recht is scheepsrecht.
Yes.
Now I got the chance to develop with Bert Hussingveld together with a colleague this fountain. Just when you go outside to the right and then go to Green Island, you can see exactly how this tree, which is connected to a dendrometer, very fine dendrometer, which can actually see the trunk circumstances differ. And the reverse signal is sent to the fountain. And when, on a beautiful day as now, you will see it the height of 9 meters when it's really working and actively cooling the air.
You told that the tree is actually getting thinner and bigger.
Over days, yeah.
Yes.
And then it starts, so first the leaves are wet, then the sun comes up, water is evaporated, leaf temperature raises, stomata go open, photosynthesis and transpiration starts, and you can see it there, over there.
Okay.
When it's getting cloudy, you see the system getting lower, and then when the it's
Well,
very precise.
At the end of the day, I will go to the fountain, and I hope you will too. Can I get a warm applause for Marc Ravesloot? Thank you so much.
Alsjeblieft.
Thank you.